He thought the mirror was gone forever, until it found him again. For weeks, Ethan had been trying to forget that night, the one where his reflection shattered into 1,000 pieces of his worst fears. But one evening, something impossible happened. His new apartment had no mirrors. He'd made sure of that. Yet, as he walked past the dark living room window, his reflection smiled back at him. And he didn't. What was about to unfold would make him realize a terrifying truth. You can't run from yourself forever. It had been 6 weeks since that night, 6 weeks of rebuilding. Ethan's life was finally turning around. He had found a new rhythm, a routine. He worked, he wrote, he created. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, he felt alive. The darkness that once clung to him like a second skin was beginning to fade. But then, the strange things started. It began with whispers, so soft, almost like the hum of the wind, except they seemed to come from inside his own head. A phantom echo in the silence. Then came the reflections. He'd catch movement in places where there shouldn't be any. A flicker in the dark surface of the TV screen after he turned it off. A distorted shadow swirling in his morning coffee mug. And once, just in the corner of his eye, the faint, unmistakable shimmer of glass. He tried to ignore it all, convinced it was just stress, his mind playing tricks on him after everything he'd been through. He was just tired, that's all. He kept telling himself that until one night, while working late at his desk, his laptop screen froze. The image of his document distorted, melting into a chaotic pattern of pixels. And in the darkened, reflective surface of the screen, he saw it. The same cracked, splintered mirror from his old apartment, its jagged lines spreading like a spiderweb across the display. His heart stopped dead in his chest. A cold dread washed over him, and then the voice returned. That same cold, clear voice from the mirror. "You're doing better, Ethan," it whispered, seeming to come from everywhere at once. But not enough. Ethan stood up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. He stared at the screen, his breath catching in his throat. "You again?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "Why? Why won't you leave me alone?" The voice echoed softly around him, a chilling caress of sound. "Because you still haven't faced the last truth." The air in the room grew colder, goosebumps rising on his arms. The lights above him flickered violently, casting his shadow long and monstrous across the wall. Then, out of the eerie glow from his laptop, the mirror began to form. It materialized piece by agonizing piece, like fog solidifying into sharp, cold glass right there in his living room. Ethan tried to back away, to run, but his feet felt like they were nailed to the floor. He was rooted in place, a prisoner in his own home, and then his reflection stepped forward out of the glass. But this time it wasn't broken or older. It looked exactly like him, but calmer, confident. It was the version of himself Ethan had always desperately wanted to become. The reflection smiled, but it wasn't a comforting sight. It was knowing, analytical. "Tell me, Ethan," it said, its voice a perfect mimicry of his own, but without the fear. "Why are you still so afraid?" Ethan's denial was instant, automatic. "I'm not," he lied, the word tasting like ash in his mouth. The reflection tilted its head, its eyes seeming to peer directly into his soul. "You fear losing what you've just started to build. You fear that if you fail again, even once, you'll fall right back into the same darkness you just crawled out of." Ethan clenched his fists, his knuckles turning white. "Everyone's afraid of failure," he shot back, his voice rising. The reflection nodded slowly, its expression unchanging. "Yes, but not everyone lets it control their every move." And then the reflection raised its hand, and the scene inside the mirror changed. Ethan saw flashes of other people's lives, his friends laughing and celebrating promotions, his co-workers succeeding on projects he'd been too afraid to join, strangers on social media smiling, their lives looking perfect and effortless. The reflection's voice dropped to a whisper. "This, Ethan, is your greatest curse. Comparison. You built your own prison by measuring your worth against their highlight reels. The scenes in the mirror shifted again, this time showing Ethan's own memories. The long nights he spent scrolling through social media, each post a tiny stab of inadequacy. The mornings he woke up already feeling defeated before his feet even hit the floor. The moments he gave up, stopped trying, because someone else always seemed to be so far ahead. The weight of it all hit him at once, and Ethan fell to his knees. "Then what do I do?" he choked out, the question a ragged plea. "How do I stop?" The reflection knelt down too, its form shimmering. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. "Stop looking outward," it said gently. "Start looking inward. You are not behind anyone else. You are only behind who you could have been yesterday. That is the only race that matters." Tears streamed down Ethan's face, hot and silent. The reflection's voice was soft, but carried a powerful, undeniable truth. "You were never haunted by a mirror, Ethan. You were haunted by the version of yourself that wanted more, but was too afraid to fight for it." A long silence filled the room, broken only by Ethan's quiet sobs. The glass of the mirror began to crack again, but this time it wasn't a sign of fear. Light began to pour through the fractures, a brilliant glow breaking through the darkness. The reflection smiled one last time, a genuine, encouraging smile. "Remember, Ethan, fear keeps you alive, but purpose makes you unstoppable." And with that, the mirror shattered. But instead of falling apart, the shards floated in midair, each one reflecting a small, perfect moment from Ethan's new life. Him working at his desk, him smiling at a good cup of coffee, him growing, learning, trying. Then they dissolved into a cascade of pure, warm light. When Ethan finally opened his eyes, morning sunlight was streaming through his window. The mirror was gone, for good this time. But there on his desk, etched faintly into the wood as if by a ray of light, were 4 words. "Don't look. Become it." Ethan finally understood. The mirror was never a curse. It was a catalyst, a brutal, terrifying but necessary reminder. The real horror was never the reflection staring back at him. It was the stagnation, the act of giving up, the moment we stop believing that we can change. Your reflection isn't your enemy. It's your unfinished story staring back at you. So stop comparing, stop fearing, and start becoming the person you once promised yourself you'd be. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that makes you think. Until next time, keep becoming.